2009, the outcome statistics for Petaluma Animal Shelter, you'll see that, can I get everybody just to bring it down a little bit so the people who are interested to hear what's being said can hear? Please? Thank you. You will notice that the three outcome types we have are euthanasia, adoptions, and other outcomes. So that would be animals that are returned to owner, transferred to rescue, any other sort of live outcome that doesn't result in the animal being euthanized. So you'll see that in 2009, it was split in about thirds. So about a third of the animals were euthanized in the animal shelter at Petaluma, about a third of them were adopted, and about a third of them went out in those other outcomes. And we're going to talk a lot about outcomes and a little bit about intakes, and I'll explain why later. 2010, you'll see the euthanasia drops down to, sorry about that, down to 23%. Adoptions are up to 47%, so things are starting to change a little bit. And I can tell you, sort of as a staff member in the shelter at that time, our entire staff came together a little bit and said, look, we're doing things maybe that we shouldn't be, and maybe we should do a little more of this, a little more of that. And so we started to change our thinking a little bit, and that started to show up in our outcome statistics. 2011, euthanasia drops to 14.8%. Adoptions are up to 44%, and other outcomes are up to 41%. 2012 was an interesting year for us, and I want you to kind of follow along. 2012 was a year that was split between the city of Petaluma and Petaluma Animal Services Foundation. So there are no statistics for the entire year. PASF took over operations of the shelter in August of 2012. And so you'll hear a lot talk about no-kill animal sheltering and modern animal sheltering, and well, you just can't do it. So you'll see in 2013, euthanasia drops down to 4%. Overnight. It can be done, and it's happening in a lot of places, not just in Petaluma. But it happens here because we have the support of our public. We have people like you that come out to events like this. Buy raffle tickets for items you may not even necessarily want, right? But you're here, you're supporting, you're bidding on things because you care about the animals. Adoptions up to 47, other outcomes are almost half now. So what we're doing here is our staff are saying, okay, we're going to find creative and new ways to find live outcomes for the animals in our shelter. We're not going to settle. We're going to keep going. We're not going to use euthanasia or killing in our animal shelter as a way to get around working. 2014, our euthanasia is down to 1.6. Adoptions are up to 41%, and other outcomes to 57%. It's not brain surgery.
Nope.
It's just caring, right? 2015 so far, 1.5%. But look at other outcomes. Look how this whole Pac-Man thing is starting to build up here, right? It's going to gobble up the rest of it. So one of the things that I do want to talk about, and we're going to get to, is anyone who's followed us, and this is a small sample size of the data. The reason I want to talk about outcomes versus intake is what you'll hear from a lot of animal shelters is about, well, geez, we can't help it. There's so many coming through the front door. There's just, spay and neuter is just not working in our community. There's all sorts of excuses. There's all sorts of reasons why it can't be done. Well, we can't control intake so much, but one thing we can control is the outcome. And so in Petaluma, that's what we focus on. We focus on the outcome. Every person that works at our animal shelter knows that they are responsible, from the animal control officer out in the field, all the way up to the board of the directors, for every animal that walks through our front door alive to walk back out alive. Okay? We're responsible for that. We are accountable to that. It's meaningful in our animal shelter. So what you saw there is what can happen when a forward-thinking modern animal shelter takes over. Anyone who follows us on social media has probably noticed the hashtag shelter like it's 2015. So if you would take a moment, just think about that. What does that mean? What does it mean to you when somebody says shelter like it's 2015? I asked my staff that same question. I got some interesting thoughts, and I want to share those with you tonight. So first up, Kathy Souza, raise your hand.
Yeah, Kathy.
Come on, Kathy, raise your hand so everybody can see you. Kathy Souza is our cat care coordinator. She focuses her time solely on cats. Kathy knows that her job is to get our cats out that front door alive. and she does an outstanding job. Thank you. So I asked Kathy, what does it mean to you to shelter like it's 2015? And she said, it means always thinking forward, always assuming a positive outcome, and not accepting defeat. Shelter like you mean it. Trust your community to help you. It means letting your community trust you by being trustworthy. It means you don't have to be afraid to do something that's unconventional. Just go for it. House FIV cats with non-FIV cats. Doesn't sound like much to the average person probably, but it's just not done elsewhere. We don't self-limit. Thank you, Kathy. All right, Keisha, you're up next. Animal Control Officer, Keisha Turner, raise your hand, please. The dog catcher. We've all heard the term, right? We don't have dog catchers in Petaluma. We have caring, humane people who are out in the field in our city advocating for the animals. Keisha says, to me, shelter like it's 2015 means setting the bar high for astonishing animal care, services, and advocacy. It means setting an outstanding example for our community and humanity on what it means to shelter and protect our animals with love, compassion, and professionalism. It means going above and beyond so often that it becomes the norm. It means that we can save them all. Thank you, Keisha. Devin Amundsen, raise your hand. Certified dog trainer, works at our shelter. One of, I think, 8 certified behaviorists, canine behaviorists in the state of California. So Devin started out volunteering at the animal shelter. And Devin's response was, when I started volunteering at PASF, I didn't know there was any other way to shelter. I thought, of course all the dogs get homes. Of course they go to foster care when they need it. Of course they get the medical care they need and have professionals there to help them. That's what animal shelters are there for, right?
Yep.
Shelter like it's 2015 means that we are on the cutting edge of animal sheltering. It means I spend most of my free time learning how we can make sure our shelter animals are benefiting from the most current research in animal behavior, which is great for us, probably means Devin's never going to get married. That's how he spends all his free time. And I'm going to tell you, he does spend his free time doing that. Valerie Fassoni, certified dog trainer. And the brains behind our social media outreach.
Yes.
Thank you, Valerie.
You're welcome.
It means that we stay in the present, bringing all modern tools to the office, rooting for every single pet in our shelter to do well and to thrive. It means we're mindful of our special place in our community, and that we never disappoint those who trust us to handle the vulnerable animals we're tasked with caring for. It means we're serious about hope and homes for animals, and that we're open to any option on earth to help one of our animals. It means building an army of kindness that is connected to the community with unlimited human resources. And this is where you all come in. It means animals leave shelters, our shelter specifically, attached to people, as that is their only way out. Shelter like it's 2015 means that we acknowledge and celebrate the people and the customers who make second chances possible, and we serve them like our pants are on fire. And this was critical, her last thought. It also means when something doesn't work, we stop doing it. That's important in our business. A lot of stuff happens in animal shelters just because it's always happened that way. Not in Petaluma. And lastly, will come to me. So I sat down and I thought about it. What does it mean to shelter like it's 2015? It means to me that the days of accepting excuses are over. No longer will we as animal lovers stand by and hear from animal shelters, it's not our fault. People just don't spay and neuter their animals. It's not our fault, there's just too many of them. It's the animal's fault. It's the public's fault. We just don't have enough staff. Our budget's too small. Pick your excuse. They're all tired and they're all useless. It means when a shelter tells you that it cannot be done, it just means they can't do it. Because in Petaluma, we can. It means the fighting happens less in the dogfighting ring but more in the boardroom, more in city council meetings, supervisors meetings, and anywhere else a scrappy animal lover can fight to make a difference. It means an animal is no longer doomed to a death sentence based on their breed, or the fact that they're born to a feral law. Each and every one gets a chance to live, to love, and to be loved. It means that the time has come when there are better options for cities and for counties. An option that is more humane, more effective, and cheaper to the taxpayers. One that guarantees live outcomes for all but a very small percentage of the animals in those shelters. It means that shelter is a verb. It means that euthanasia is easy. Excuses never got an animal adopted. Never one time. It means it's time to put down the needle and pick up your hard hat and your lunchbox because it's time to go to work. It means that if we work hard enough, if we love them enough, and we refuse to quit, they will win. Every time. It means if you ask your community to fill up your dog and cat food cupboards at the shelter, they'll overflow it. You'll have more than you can fit there. We haven't paid for dog or cat food for 3 years. Shelter like it's 2015 to me means when animals leave our shelter, they will not do so out the back door in a garbage can like yesterday's trash. They will leave out the front door. In the arms of a new family that loves them. Leaving behind a shelter family that also loves them.
Amen, brother.
I know you are all here tonight because you care just as much about those homeless animals and homeless animals everywhere as we do. And you understand the very real toll that the shelter experience takes on animals in our community. So I'm thinking there's about 200 people here tonight. And if you would, I'm going to work you out a little bit. I got a can. If everybody in the room will take $10 out of their pocket, we can pay for 6 months worth of vaccines for the animals that hit our shelter doors. 6 months, folks. The shelter. Thank you, Mr. Liddell. Thank you. At 24, we like that. So, in a shelter, thank you. In a shelter just an hour and a half north of us, thank you, they've had 2 hand leukemia breakouts in the last year. 2 that have resulted in the death of over 100 kittens. Simply because they didn't vaccinate correctly. Vaccinations cost about $2.80. Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to put it right here. Thank you, guys. There's simply no excuse. So in Petaluma, we don't make excuses. We make solutions. And part of how we do that is through you. And through the efforts that you all put in, fostering to adopt, helping out. When a very vulnerable animal hits our doors, you show up, you take it home. Betsy can tell you, where are you? Betsy, how many puppies have you had from the shelter? Over 80 puppies. Betsy has taken home and fostered. A shelter is no place for a puppy.
Don't disappear, I need your name.
So we should all say thank you to Mike and tell you. Thank you, Mike. Thanks for putting up with it. Thanks for letting us have your wife to help us out. Take a look around the room, folks. This is an army of kindness.